This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I'm so behind on studio maintenance that it's a miracle that the studio functions at all. So instead of getting caught up by myself, because that's boring, I decided to take you guys with me. I'm giving myself 2 weeks, and it's not like 2 weeks, this is all I'm gonna be working on. I'm just going to find little chunks of time throughout the next 2 weeks around my busy schedule to get the following tasks done. Glaze swatches. I have some, but mostly I don't. Clay reclaim, I am behind. Cookies, I have none. Make a swatch board, because this is the current status and it's chaos here. I figured I'd start with making swatches because I do need to fire these and they need to dry out and all that. So it's just gonna take the longest to make these. And what I mean by swatches are blanks of these glaze testers, so glaze swatches. And I like to make them sort of with some texture and a hole so I can hang them. Theoretically, I've got holes in all of these glaze swatches that I've made in the past, and I've never made a swatch board. So I don't know why the heck I made holes in them. But theoretically, the ones that are still relevant here, I can hang up on the swatch board, but I always need blanks of these because, you know, I'm always testing out new glazes, new combinations. So theoretically, it would be great to have a bunch of these that I can just grab when I want to test something, and I don't have to worry about making the swatch and bisquing it. I can just test out a new glaze. That would be great. So that's what we're gonna do today. And then if there are any glaze swatches that are missing from here, like any colors that I have, because I know there's definitely some, I'm going to later on glaze them so we have a complete glaze board of all of the glazes that I have. Oh my goodness, that is the dream. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking about this much clay, I'm making into a ball, and then I'm going in one direction, just back and forth, so it turns into like a bit of an oval shaped ball, like an egg shape, I guess. And then I flatten it between my hands just to get it a little bit more flat. Put it down on the wedging board. This is a canvas covered board, so the clay doesn't stick to it. Really handy to have. And then I'm gonna take my fingers and just squish, squish, squish. There we have a nice textured swatch. And then later on, when they're a little bit harder, a little bit drier, I'm going to go in with a circle cutter and cut it a hole. So we can hang them theoretically. I'm gonna make like 20 of them. I suppose I can always make more, and that should last me a while. This is a great thing to do if you have like any random leftover clay, like say you're doing a pinch pot or you've just rolled out a slab and you've cut off some clay, and as long as it's still fresh, you can just make a little swatch. And there's like loads of ways to do swatches. Like mostly I do swatches like this because I think they're cute. They also show, you know, the glaze breaking over the texture. I have done so many different swatches before. Like I used to just roll out slabs for swatches. This is like the easiest, quickest way around it. Nothing wrong with that. You can also throw your swatches. So this is basically you make like a giant, I'm not gonna call it a donut. Imagine a very short, wide cylinder, and then you just chop, chop, chop all around. And what's cool about these ones is they stand, but I don't like how they hang because I don't know. I don't think they look nice when they hang. I just think these ones are the cutest way of doing it, and that's reason enough to do something. So I've made 20 of my white clay. This is Carolina clay 9SF. And I'm going to make 20 of the speckled clay, which is 32 SF from Carolina, and the red clay, which is 4 SF. These are the 3 main clays I use. Can't tell you how many times people ask me which clays I'm using, even though I try and show it in every video. But yeah, these are my 3 main clays. I will occasionally throw in a different kind of clay. So I'm gonna make 20 more swatches of the speckled and the red. cute are all of these little guys? They look like chocolates or something, or maybe some sort of bug. Little army. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to drape some plastic lightly over them because I want them to stay fairly wet so that they, can take the hole, because sometimes when you're drilling the hole through this thick of clay, so close to the edge of the clay, you end up with crumbling. And that's happened to me countless times. So I do have to baby these textiles a little bit more, but I think they're worth it. So I'm gonna set these aside now and we're gonna make some cookies. Let's take a little break to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you've never heard about Squarespace before, they are an all-in-one website platform that artists and entrepreneurs use to stand out online. I've been using Squarespace ever since I started my online business because it has incredibly easy to use features, including their drag and drop website builder and integrated SEO tools. Whether you're just starting out or you're managing a thriving brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website to sell anything from physical products to memberships, digital products, and even services. You can also schedule appointments, create on-brand invoices, and send newsletters. And for the artists watching, you will love their cutting-edge design tools where you can create a bespoke website that perfectly fits your brand or business. So head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/potterytothepeople for 10% off your very first website or domain. Now let's get back to the video. So for making cookies, I'm going to be just using reclaim. It doesn't matter at all what clay you use because this is like sacrificial clay, right? If you don't know what a cookie is, this is a cookie. This is my last remaining cookie. I've got glaze and bits of clay stuck to it, so he's ready to retire. But basically what a cookie is a piece of sacrificial clay that you will put your cup onto if you think that the glaze is going to drip. So if you're worried about protecting your kiln shelf, I always just put it on a cookie. And I like to have a variety of different sizes, like a bunch of different cookies, just so I can be prepared for whatever I need. And I currently have one. So making these is really easy. I'm just gonna roll out a slab. Okay, so I just rolled out 3 slabs for the cookies. I think it should be enough. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to let them dry overnight. You don't actually have to do this. The reason I'm doing it is because my reclaim is really, really wet. And I just think the whole process of cutting out the cookies is going to be easier, more straightforward when it's not so like sloppy wet. So I think that's all I'm going to do today because I really need to get some glazing done. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hello. Studio's kind of a mess right now. It has been quite a day already. It's already 4 p.m. so I'm just getting into the studio. I'm really glad we don't have that much we need to do today. Just need to sort of finish up things from yesterday. So what I want to do is cut out my cookies. I want to poke holes in all of my new glaze swatches, and I would love to get a start on reclaim. All very small, manageable tasks. So let's cut out our cookies first, just to get that out of the way. For the cookies, I just use these cookie cutters. This would be like the smallest one. I feel like I've lost all my cookie cutters. I'm gonna use one cookie cutter, and I'm just gonna use these guys to trace. This is for my extruder, and this is just a lid. Anything round will do. You just wanna find something that's like more or less the correct size. And then we're just gonna cut out a bunch of slabs. A cookie. Just gonna try and cram as many on here as I can. My slabs are quite dry. I hope that my swatches are not too dry. That would be tragic. Doo-doo. These are not too dry out because it's happened to me way too many times before where I've dried these out too much and then it was impossible to put the holes in them. So I'm using the 1/2 centimeter hole cutter. And then I want to make the holes so that it makes like these little wells. So you might see it on some of my swatches where I did it upside down. This is like not the right way to do it because then it can't pool. So I want it to be able to pool, the glaze to be able to pool to kind of show like what it looks like. So you dip them in like this, the glaze can pool here, and then on the top of the fingerprint it shows the thinner part, and on the bottom it shows where it's pooled. This is the idea of these swatches. Of course, you can do whatever you want. So I like to go in from the back because it's a little bit easier. And then the trick here is to not do it too close to the edge. Go slow. This is what I've learned from killing many, many, many swatches. Ta-da! That's it, and then I just let them dry out completely. I don't write anything on the back of the swatch. Like if you're experimenting with different clays, you'll definitely want to write the name of the clay on the back. These are just my standard clays. I know them from sight, so I'm not worried about that. What I usually do is I'll use my oxide pencil to write the name of the glaze on the back, but that's when it's actually glazed. I don't know what glaze I'm putting on this yet, so I'm not gonna scribble anything into the back right now. Okay, so our little swatches are done. Now I'm just going to let them dry out, get bone dry, and then we're gonna bisque them, and they're ready to go. I only lost 2 little guys. I don't know why. These were randomly super dry. And yeah, diddy! Last chore of the day, let's prep some reclaim. If you don't know what I'm doing with reclaim, don't worry, I do have like at least 2, maybe 3 videos on how I do reclaim. So check those out, but I'll show you what I do. It is the stinkiest job in the studio, but it is vaguely satisfying. So all of this clay is going to become reused. This was all waste clay, and it's all going to be reclaim, which I can eventually turn into pots. I do have quite a good amount of reclaim, and the last time it had built up so much, I made a ton of planters. I did a series of polls on my Instagram and asked people what I should make with the reclaim. I ended up making a bunch of planters, which was really cool. And you guys got to choose like the shape and which glazes, etc. That was really fun. So let me know what I should make with these. Should I do another poll thing, or should I just get ideas out of the comments? Let me know. I definitely don't want to do planters again. I want to do something new. Ooh, it's stinky. You see all of this like bluish gray? That's all stank. That's really gross stuff. That means this reclaim has been sitting in here for way too long. Oh, especially the stuff at the bottom is really, if you're wondering what it smells like sewage. But it will only smell for like 10 minutes or something until the mold in the outer layer starts to die off, and then it's not so bad. It's like perfectly fit 2 bats. How exciting. Ta-da! Empty bucket. There is no way to do this without getting messy. But it's not dangerous, I promise you. I don't know like what the mold is that grows in there, but like potters have been dealing with this mold for thousands of years, and it's fine. So I've been told. And well, I've never had any adverse reactions to it. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry out overnight. In my studio, it doesn't get too dry because it's, you know, a basement studio, blah, blah. But of course it depends on the humidity in your studio. So usually it's ready to wedge up by the next day. We shall see. If anything, it needs like a day and a half to dry out, so it'll be fine. And then I can fill this guy up. So I like to leave this task for the end of the day as I'm leaving the studio, because it does make a little bit of dust and I don't want to be breathing that in. So now, once this is empty, now I'm going to take some water and fill it up so that it's basically level with all the stuff on the inside. If I have throwing slip, I also throw it in, but I don't have any at the moment. And a lot of these pieces are hand-built pieces, so they should be fine. If it was a lot of thrown pieces and I didn't re-add the slip back in, the slip that I used for throwing the pieces, I could end up with clay that's a bit short, but this should be fine. I mean, I've done it many times before and I haven't had a problem. So yeah, about this level, it's okay if a few pieces are still sticking out as the clay kind of falls apart. It will get underneath the level of water. Yeah, and I like to do it this way because it is the least amount of work. You can theoretically skip the whole drying out process, but I personally like to dry it out because then you don't need to like seriously mix this. You don't end up with lumps in your reclaim. It sort of evenly soaks in the water. I don't know if you can hear it bubbling and squelching. Yeah, this is the way I do it. Like, I'm optimizing for as little effort as possible in my studio, at least with the studio maintenance. But I mean, it also depends on like the scale of your studio. If you're throwing like, 100 pots a day, probably you don't have the space for all these buckets. So this works for me. I'm gonna link my reclaim video up here somewhere that goes into a bit more detail about this whole process. But yeah, that's basically it. We have officially finished our cookies and our glaze swatches. There are a few things I love more than crossing things off a list. Our last job is to make the swatch board, and I am going to use some of these right away because I know for sure I'm missing some glaze swatches. But the first thing I need to do is like organize my chaotic glaze swatches so I know what I have and what I don't have. And ideally, I have a swatch for each of my 3 clay colors in every single glaze that I own, which is honestly starting to get to be a lot. If you count all of my paint on glazes, I don't have that many dipping. No, I do have a lot of dipping glazes too. I have quite a few glazes. I've kind of become an unintentional glaze hoarder, even though I don't. I've got a lot of glazes. So we'll see. I'm hoping I have enough of these. So yeah, let's lay these out. And I think that there's also a lot of swatches that I can discard because a lot of these clays I don't have anymore. So I also just need to go through and purge a little. My goodness, I found even more. I'm really relieved because I was like, where the heck are all of my red clay swatches? So I have a couple of them. We have a start, and I do believe I have more glazes even that are not on here. So I think what I need to do is go over to the kiln room now and kind of do an inventory of my glazes. By the way, this is all the glaze swatches that are just completely irrelevant now. Like a lot of these are clay experiments. I used to experiment a lot with my reclaim. So I would add iron, I would add stains to my reclaim and, just grog and make cool colored clays like these ones. So really cool. I just don't need to hang on to this because it's not organized and I'm never gonna get this color clay ever again because I don't have the recipes anymore. So I'm just gonna throw this all away. Ooh. I'm gonna include a little swatch in every pottery order where I ship something, and then you guys can get them. How about that? We'll do that because I don't wanna throw them away. I think the way to do this is just go through. So I have got my glazes in 3 major sections in the studio. I've got my big buckets here. I've got my little buckets up there. And then I've got medium buckets over here. I can't believe how many glazes I have. This is kind of exciting to see like the color palette all together. This is why I needed a swatch board. Jeez Louise. Okay, let's start with the one big bucket that we're missing. I don't know if you noticed, but what I'm doing is I'm dipping it once for about 5 seconds, and then I'm letting it dry, and then I'm dipping about halfway through second time. This way I can see, you know, the different thicknesses of glaze application. And then I'm also using my oxide pencil to write down the glaze because you might not know which glaze is which, and that would be a catastrophe, honestly. I'm not really good at writing with this oxide pencil. I don't know, it always ends up being really sloppy. I was told if you dip it in water, it's smoother. Sort of works. Like, I don't know how legible that is, especially after it's fired. I should have all of my glazes, all of the missing swatches done. I think I have something like 15 to 20 glazes at this point, which is way more than I feel like I do. I guess I have a lot of like glazes that I've just used a handful of times, or glazes that I've forgotten about, or glazes that I bought for a specific project, and it's not like in my regular rotation. The good news is I still have plenty of swatches, so we're good. We don't need to make any more. I've got my new glaze swatches. I just love how they look. They're like little gems. So pretty. I only ended up firing the white and the speckled clay, and that's because these 2 clays fire at the same temperature. My red clay actually fires 40 degrees cooler than these ones, and I didn't want to fire the swatches just by themselves, so I haven't actually fired those yet. But today, we're going to make the swatch board. Let's knock this out. Yesterday I went to the store and got a big old board of plywood. I just got the size that I thought would look nice on the wall. I really have no idea how I'm going to lay these out. I was thinking maybe I could do like 2 rows because I only have 3 clays. So if I do 1, 2, 3 clays, that's only using like half the board. And I think I'll have a lot more glazes. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, maybe an extra row in case I add on another clay at some point. And then we start out again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me like draw it out and see if it fits reasonably. It looks nice. Basically at every intersection of this, I need to put a screw. And yes, I'm using screws instead of nails because I've had swatch boards with nails in the past, and truly it's just annoying because the nails always fall out. So I've switched over to making them with screws. I hope I have enough screws. I might run out of screws at some point, but I'm gonna use my drill right now to put little holes in where I'm gonna add the screws. And then I can go ahead and erase my grid so it doesn't stay. And then I'll put the screws in. That's the idea. It's a wonderful day. We can finally cross the last thing off of our to-do list just in time. So good. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I tackle all of my studio chores. I really appreciate not only getting this stuff done, but also taking a little bit of a lighter video in between some pretty intense videos that took a long time to make. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you're interested in this more vloggy style video where I'm just like doing studio stuff, like the boring stuff, like, I don't know, making a mug. Wouldn't that be something to do? All right, guys, I'll see you next week with a new video. Bye, friends.